Hey guys, so a question that we get asked a lot from people that want to audition for us, or current performers, or even performers that might get like an industry callback, or for our performers that have even ended up signing with an agent or a manager, is do they need to live in LA? And I'm going to tell you guys that you don't. And I'm going to tell you why and just go a bit more in depth in how the industry has changed. So, even before COVID, something, especially here in Los Angeles, most auditions, particularly like TV or film or commercials, were what's known as a self-tape. And what makes that so exciting is you guys can now basically live anywhere and audition for anything. And all that matters is, honestly, if you book the part, that you are ready to travel on location. And so why this is exciting is a majority of the work, believe it or not, that we do as actors, it's not act. It's prepare for auditions. It's memorize lines. It's train for those roles and just audition use. But the thing that's changed is the playing field has been leveled a lot with self-tapes. So for those of you guys that don't know what a self-tape is, they are just a simple recording of you and your audition material, a performance of it. Typically, they are all about how you're framed, lit, and shot. There's a certain format. And the point I'm trying to make, though, is the days of like actors like me, needing to drive all over Hollywood for auditions, or actors like you guys thinking you need to be in a major hub like New York or LA or now even Atlanta. Those days are over. I have friends literally that are booking roles in feature films, and they do not live in major cities. In some cases, they live in the middle of nowhere, or they live in smaller markets, but they're still pursuing work in bigger markets. You guys need to be masters of your self-tape, because this lowers the playing field. And what I mean by that is you guys aren't now just competing with actors in LA for a lot of audition opportunities that are now potentially thousands of people submitting, especially if it's on a self-submission site. So you guys need to make sure your self-tape is as well produced as possible. Or if something's essentially off visually or performance-wise in the first couple seconds of your self-tape, a casting director isn't going to watch it. So you guys have to consider in the initial casting process, again, they're looking at hundreds, if not thousands of people's self-tapes. And sometimes the first round is just a casting assistant. They're not going to walk through all of that material. So think about it. This is a numbers game. You need to present yourself professionally in every facet of your material to give them a reason to watch it, to give them a reason to be interested in giving your audition. From your headshots, to your self-tape, to your slate, to your performance. All those things are so important. For our existing performers, we're showing you guys how to approach your work, because we want you to know how it applies to everything, because acting's the same. It's always being you. The journey, though, and the struggle is getting there, getting comfortable, and getting there quick. So you guys can, like I said, be masters of audition work, be a master of your self-tape. Again, there's a time and a place to eventually move to LA or New York City or even Atlanta. But until then, it's your job to do the best and make the most of the resources you have in your backyard. Because until you start getting callbacks or booking work locally in your area, or even getting a local agent, there's no need to really worry about living in LA, because that's getting so far ahead of things. I mean, the majority of the talent that I've helped coach with our team, they don't live here in LA, and they're not moving to LA. We do sometimes work with performers that are out here, but we work with performers all over the country and sometimes internationally. We've worked with performers as far away as Puerto Rico to Tennessee to Pennsylvania, and they've signed with agencies here in Los Angeles after working with us. We even had a performer that he made small adjustments to how he presented himself in his slate, and he began booking more work despite not even living in the city that he was slating from. So the point is, you don't need to be in LA, but you do need to know how things work here in LA. From, again, how do you act, or how do you present yourself professionally, and how do you find those opportunities? I know it's exciting to think about living in Hollywood, or walking the mean streets of New York, but if you're younger, it's really about auditioning for your school's theater program, or registering on a casting site in your market and just audition. But regardless of your age, regardless of where you're at in your life, you really want to be the biggest fish in your small pond. And then when you feel like you have it figured out, when things start rolling where you live, that's when you want to start thinking about even just submitting for a local agency or like a regional one before even trying to move out here to LA. Because think about it. If you're having a hard time getting representation with a smaller regional agency where you live, or if you're having trouble, booking even like what's known as like an industrial or like local community theater work in your backyard, in your community, it's going to be even more tough here in LA, and the stakes get even higher when you have way larger expenses. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, but you need to walk before you can run. Like for me, most of our performers know, like, I got started in Cleveland. I booked my first TV credit from local work. I did in Cleveland. I took my first acting classes with a teacher. She was from LA, but she was teaching in Cleveland. I had my first commercial audition in Cleveland. I did my first theater work at the Cleveland Playhouse, and I worked on my first short film in Cleveland. My first headshots, everything. Guys, it was in Cleveland. Even for me, I moved to LA, but it was only because, it wasn't because I was like had mastered everything in my local market. It's because I got a job offer in Los Angeles, and I basically made that job and acting my full-time job. So I had a plan, and I had a bit of a safety net by having a regular job. I eventually needed to leave that job because it was so hard to live a double life of like working in corporate America and going to auditions and doing like local theater and acting. But the point is, like, you guys want to have a plan and you want to feel like you already are ready or are in a good place before you come to a major market. Again, I don't want to say like don't come out here. It's pretty cool. I love living out here. I've been out here for almost half of my adult life now. But the point is, you want to be ready and you want to have a plan in place and you want to feel like you guys are doing well where you live first. And like one last thing too that people ask us a lot is it too late to start? And again, I didn't start acting until my early 20s, and it's never too late. It's something that you just, if you want to do and if it makes sense, you should absolutely do it. You just need to have a plan. That's what's most important. And that's what I want to talk about in my next video, about like how old do you have to be or what does age matter. But for now, I'm hoping that this is giving just, a nudge in the right direction, a bit of inspiration, and making you guys feel good about like where you live and where you're at now, because that's all that matters, is just being ready and being in a comfortable, good place for you to get started and navigate this world. So that's all I got for you guys. Bye.